morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's CC-Webinar.Live interactive panel discussion, and thank you for joining. We would like to thank our panelists, Michelle, Anthony, Cristiano, and Vincent, for participating in the session today. Now, I would like to welcome our Global CC Ambassador, Eric, to welcome everyone, to introduce everyone, and moderate the session. Over to you, Eric.
Thank you, Laura, and hi guys, and fantastic having you all here and having you all out there, because we have a very interesting thing and a very nice topic to discuss with you. We're going to talk about the new business models to meet cables and the future connectivity, and of course what everybody's talking about, the digital demand. So welcome at the Care Community Webinar Live session here with us. Of course, as you know, and as you're acquainted to this, if you tune in more than once already, I cannot do it alone, and I do not want to do it alone, because I need the senior experts around our world to help me with the topic and to make sure that I understand it and that you understand it. I'm happy to have them here to share their knowledge. I'll quickly give them a quick minute to introduce themselves to you. And so Vincent, if I may start with you, welcome.
Sure. Thank you, Eric. Thanks for the introduction, and I'm very pleased to be here. I'm Vincent Gatineau. I'm the Chief Marketing and Sales Officer of Elalink. So for those who don't know yet, Elalink, we are dedicated to build a data corridor between Europe and Latin America. Basically, we'd like to connect data centers to data centers from Southern Europe in Madrid, Lisbon, Marseille, with data centers in Fortaleza, São Paulo, and Rio. So we are currently building our architecture. This consists in a subsea system, which is actually got the news this morning, has been 100% manufactured this morning. It's just done. It's very fresh, and we'll be laying our cable this winter, and it's going to be ready for service at the end of the first quarter.
Thank you, Vincent, and congrats with the progress you made already. So and welcome, and thank you for being here on the panel with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ray.
So from Paris we go, I think, to Sao Paulo. Michelle, welcome.
Welcome, Kay. Thanks, Eric. Hi, everyone. First, thanks for organizing, this webinar. It's always, a good, place to share and learn with our, peers around the globe. A little bit about myself. I'm the SVP of Sales at Cibor Networks, and also head of Latin America. Cibor is, an independent subsea cable operator. We have infrastructure connecting US to Brazil. And we are, a network provider. I'm based in São Paulo. Happy to be here.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Thank you, and super having you. Thank you again. So we just go a little bit up north, and we stay in Brazil. So we go to Cristiano. I think it's Rio. Am I right?
Yes, you're right. Here's Rio. Good news from Rio. So it's spring here, but it looks like it's summer. I hope the weather holds a little bit more. Just a couple of words about myself. My name is Cristiano Ferraz, and I work for NetCom Americas. We cover all the American continent, mainly with one product, which forms the basis for managing connections in the network. NetCom I have been with the company for 10 years now, and the company has established its name in many American countries. Companies that provide connectivity usually, and also means of communication, usually resort to our system for managing the physical network and the logical network. So that's what we do mostly. Our development team that develops the interfaces that allow for connection with other systems is in Rio. So we have a group of engineers here that do all the development and the support for the Americas. So that's it.
Thank you, Cristiano, and I'm happy to, and we all hope for you as well that you keep on having the beautiful spring weather over there, and bring some over to Europe, because I think we could absolutely need it. So from Brazil, from Sao Paulo and Rio, we actually go over the ocean again, and this time the big one, the Pacific, and I think we're gonna end up in Hong Kong. So Anthony, welcome. Glad having you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining this session. And it's an interesting topic today about new business models to meet the future demand. I'm glad to be here with all the panelists and all the audience to share experience and learn new things. Just a little bit about my company, PCCW Global. We are the incumbent in Hong Kong, and we also have a global footprint, if you like, across the globe. So pretty much we on every, cable systems, you name it. And also apart from, international capacity, we also have mobile services, as well as we undergoing some kind of digital transformation as we speak. So I think today's topic is quite interesting and relevant. So I hope everyone can enjoy the session. So back to you, Eric.
Thank you very much, Anthony, and also for you. Fantastic having you, and thank you for being at the panel here. So topic, guys, the new business models to meet the cables and ISP future connectivity and digital demand, a mouthful. So as Anthony already rightly said, and we're going to look into the new business models, addressing the future market demands, what's out there with relation to with IoT and then the new reality. So many things to discuss, and to open up, I would actually understand what is the current landscape and what are we talking about. So Cristiano, can you say something about the current landscape where we're currently in, and do we see new business models arrive or arise, and if so, what do we see? Can you elaborate a little bit on that one?
Yes, gladly. The industry, the telecommunications industry, is undergoing a very big change, and that means that not only there will be new businesses, but also the way of providing capacity to the customers is changing very fast. Up until a few years ago, each company would sell its own resources alone, and it would take a long time for any company to approve an engineering project in order to provide that connectivity. But the thing is, as things move faster today, those companies that provide a part of the network will need to make their network visible to other companies, which can then use that capacity in order to provide the connections either to themselves or to their customers end to end. For example, a few years ago, sea cable companies would provide capacity between a port entry and another port entry, but they would usually not have the means to go inland and provide the capacity to the inland. They would need to do a project, talk to business partners, and go down there. And then from the data centers to the actual companies which are being connected, there would be also a big time delay in getting the connections within the city. For example, take New York City. You cannot dig you cannot dig the ground for new fiber cables. So it is difficult to find out a way to get to the end, especially if there are several providers that work in that environment. We are now evolving to a different business model which sees the network, the underlying network, as a resource that may be shared among different customers. And this requires that companies work together over the same knowledge basis so that there is visibility from one network to another. Just to give an example again, we have one customer in New York City that started making a deal with the metro network and then installed fiber cable. And then they started breaking deals with other companies on the continent, not in the island of Manhattan, and also with companies selling capacity, companies that would take their fibers light their fibers and then sell capacity to the other, to the end customers. What really worked for the business model of this company is to have full visibility of their resources and the resources of their partners, so that if somebody came with a request for interconnection, it doesn't matter if the customer wanted dark fiber, if the customer wanted a wavelength, if the customer wanted 10 gigabits, for example, they would be able to provide that without having themselves to operate all the resources. So this is what I see changing a lot. And that's what our business here in Latin America is pointing to. So many companies are joining us, one knowledge base about their network, so that their partners may be able to see and interoperate and then sell the capacity to the end customer. As for C cable companies, in this business model, they will be able to go into the land, partnering with other companies and selling capacity end to end. Or they will have representatives in each country, which will then interact with the cable companies and then provide at short notice, with a very short engineering time, connectivity to the customers that may require them anywhere inland. Okay, so that's the big change I see.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. From the Asia Pacific point of view, and let's say also a global view, because PCCW is a global player, of course. What do you see?
Okay, I think Cristiano has a good point. So think about today, well, think about the old days. So pretty much all carriers will do their own business, right? So though we have so-called the NNI model, which is kind of like cooperation, but it's not too tight, I would say. But these days, I think no carriers will excel in every single business per se. So I would say the cooperation to be more tighter. So in terms of the integration, like what Cristiano just say, I think API is an important thing. So that's why in our company, we do offer API for our partner or our customers, trying to connect together. And we develop a digital platform where the customer can onboard, so they can order service online easily and on demand. So I think this is kind of like a trend, if you like, for the telecom business. On the other hand, for subsea capacity, although we keep on investing, but frankly speaking, for the local network, we still rely on local partners, right? So that's why if you want to provide fully managed service end to end, the cooperation or joint partnership, if you like, with some local partners is very important. So that's why we're working on this direction as well.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. Vincent, you're building like hell. You're in the middle. You're in the middle of it. I know.
Actually, I'm glad you asked, because I wanted to react on that, and I think.
Please do.
I mean, at the same time, I mean, the end customer is waiting for having a visibility on his end-to-end services, and sometimes is relying on someone on a unique vendor which will provide everything, and we don't believe actually that you can be an expert on each part of the network. So
that's difficult. That's really difficult. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. So our position to improve this this quality for the end user is actually to focus on what we know what to do, right? So in Elalink, our focus is clearly to connect data center to data center, and to completely rely on partners locally. I mean, when you're operating in both sides of the Atlantic with such different landscape in each side of the ocean, I don't believe you can be an expert of both sides of the ocean. So you need to rely on quality partners, either from your backhaul and your entails in Europe, but the same in Brazil. So when you need to connect above data center, you really need to go with local partners, which are experts actually of their side. This leads, of course, to it only works actually if you have sufficiently open interface in your network, so the good APIs, but as well if you are a neutral partner. And how to become a neutral partner is actually in focusing really on what you know how to do. Because when you are having multiple activities, you start to lack of neutrality, because you will have to manage different lines of revenues, and maybe we not focus on what you know how to do best. So this is really how we position on serving this kind of markets.
Okay, thank you. I mean, on what you just mentioned on net neutrality, I'll come with a question later on this one. But first, Michael, going back from one end to the ocean to the other end of the ocean, going back to Sao Paulo. So, Michael, what's your view on it?
Well, my view is, I totally agree with Cristiano, Anthony, and Vincent. I think right now what we see is cooperation and partnership. I think all the networks, they are a parts of one ecosystem, right? And then all the networks, they are interconnected somehow. In our case, we are not selling only pop-to-pop solutions. Today, virtually, we can connect any place in the world, using or not our infrastructure, right? And the good thing is that when we talk with our customers, we are going beyond the transactional experience. You know what I mean? We are offering full solution, working with partners, reliable partners, local partners in every geography. And the beauty of that is that this is transparent for our customers. Using our network and then connecting to another piece for our customer, this is transparent. So I think and then the COVID has brought this new normal, and then we saw the capacity growing a lot, and then we had to be creative, and then I would summarize saying that right now cooperation, it is the word that, at least at Seaborn, right? We've been using with our partners, competitors. We have now this term co-opetition is not new. Sometimes we compete, but sometimes we cooperate, right? I think this is going to be the one of the drivers for the future.
And so, as Vincent already said, it's to differentiate yourself. It is absolutely key that you let's say partner up with the right partners, exactly. With the right quality of service, with the right latencies, exactly. et cetera. Thank you. I was mentioning quickly the net neutrality, and I think that's something that is net neutrality is something we hear more and more. So Cristiano, if I may ask you, what can you tell me about it? Well, what is it actually, net neutrality, and how should I, let's say, see it actually? Well, and what are the threats? What are the threats, and what are the pros and cons?
Net neutrality is based on knowledge of the network, especially of one part of the network, which is not visible, not easily visible, which is the physical network itself. I mean, management systems of transmission equipment can see the connections at a higher level, but the physical connections need to be modeled into that as well. Net neutrality, we see it happening. Here in Brazil, for example, there is a large phone company which is probably selling all of its infrastructure, towers, and optical fiber, regardless of being lighted or not, it might be dark fiber, to a realty company. Realty companies that have been building their own towers for years in other countries. There's one that's supposed to be coming to Brazil, and buying one very large network in order to feature this as a neutral network so that others can use. But this model will only happen if the knowledge about the physical structure and the logical structure of the connections above it is easily available to partners. So
and is it in practice? Is it in practice? I mean, if somebody in tower, let's say, builds it, is it feasible? What is your experience in that?
It is quite feasible. We are building out our largest project now is with the largest tower company in the Americas, and we are building this database with the primary information models that goes from the physical network up to the higher levels with APIs, as Anthony Lang said, to exchange information with current management systems, operations management systems. So yes, it is feasible, at least on an engineering and visibility and sales. We can do that right now. What is sometimes difficult is to program things across different management realms. So visibility is the first step. The next step is provisioning, and provisioning is quite different matter, okay? Even with the concept of SDN, it is not easy to provide through heterogeneous networks. But the visibility is step number one. If I as a salesman for an end customer, can see what resources are available to implement that connection, and that is what is being done right now. There's a lot of work going on. Then it is much easier to approve the project, do the engineering, and then, if necessary, go to different platforms to do the provisioning. So pros are that everything becomes cheaper, right? If you have a network that you share with others, then you may concentrate on your business. If your business is selling capacity, you concentrate on that. If your business is infrastructure, then you can concentrate on that. You don't need to build everything from top to bottom. So you have reliable partners that have a very solid database of knowledge with their network and whatever they provide. And if that works smoothly, there's no problem in doing the engineering of the network. So the rollout time for new projects is reduced significantly.
Mm-hmm. So transparency and efficiency, that's, let's say, the two main points pros you see there, correct?
And quickness. A project
and the target time to market. Okay.
Yes, time to market is very, very short.
Michael, you agree?
No, I totally agree. These, neutral networks, as Cristiano mentioned, I know the project he's, talking about. I used to work for that company a few years ago.
I saw you're in it, or you were in it.
No, I was, and then I know the project. Okay. I know the, business model. I think these, neutral networks, here in Brazil is going to be a reality. This is not something new. When we talk about sharing, right, networks, tower business started 20 years ago. When one tower was being used only by the owner, and then another incumbents started to use. It was the first step, right? The location. And then the second step was the equipment sharing. So they were, sharing the physical radios, right? And then they start to share the frequency, the spectrum. They were, allocating, bandwidth, right? And right now in Brazil, and then because, here it is a continental country, we don't have, the fiber technology penetration on the fixed broadband business is less than 20% in Brazil right now. So there are a lot of, room. There is a lot of room to grow. And then neutrality, the most important thing is that it is going to bring, a better capital allocation. You know what I mean? The capex is going to be rationalized. There will be more, a better allocation, meaning that in one city, we don't need to see, fiber carriers deploying their own, fiber network. We can have a neutral, operator, and then based on the, technology, improvement, they can share. Today, depending on the vendor that you talk to, they are sharing the light, not only the physical ports. They already are sharing, the light. You know what I mean? So it will bring, time to market, and then the capex will be more, better invested, so they can increase the coverage. I think the whole market will benefit from that. That's my view here in Brazil.
Okay, thank you. Going from one huge city to another huge city, Anthony, Hong Kong. Do you see the same, and then do you share the thoughts of the gentleman?
Well, it's interesting to hear both, Cristiano and Michel to talk about the experience in Brazil. So here in Hong Kong, I think it makes sense in the way that, think about Hong Kong, a very small place, right? If every carrier do their own infrastructure bill, that would be either costly and also it's a nightmare for the environment. So if there's a certain point of time where the government will appoint some kind of, contractor, if you want, to ask every carrier, hey, we're going to build this fiber route. Do you want to invest or not? We have an option to the carriers. So instead of everyone building their own fiber, this is a coordinated approach. I think it makes sense for some metropolitan area, especially when you build out the metro network. But of course, when you go to subsea, that's a different story. But in terms of the metro network, I think it makes sense to have this kind of so-called net neutrality arrangement.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, well, let's go a bit more on the sea cable. You just mentioned it, Anthony. So, Vincent, what do you see, let's say, on net neutrality? What does it do to your business, to your customers?
I think for us, and I'm in agreement with everyone saying that, technically, this is not a big deal. When there is a technical requirement, there is a lot of engineers to provide technology for that. Our point is neutrality and openness for us comes more at the root of the project itself. It comes from its financing itself and who are the stakeholders of your project. If you have some stakeholders that have some conflict of interest, at the end, you can be sure that your infrastructure cannot be neutral, right? So it's for us extremely important to have this neutrality in terms of source of financing, and at the end as well to have a management of your product lines or your different products which have no conflict of interest between these lines, right? When you are selling at the same time advertisement, and another moment you are selling some content and broadcasting content on broadcast, how can you be actually neutral when you are, it's a moment to manage your infrastructure and your partners? So at any time you will have some conflicts, and well, at the end it's a question of money. So if the money decided and the revenue are better not being neutral, people make a clear choice, right? So if your project by itself is neutral in terms of source of financing, you are doing a giant step in the right direction.
Okay, thank you. So if we go a bit deeper, let's go to the demand side, and maybe we see some challenges and opportunities there. Anthony, if I may ask you, well, where do you see them? What are the current market demands out there, and how can we address them?
Well, as already mentioned, introduction of this webinar. So things keep changing in the telecom world. I would see in these days, think about what we have today. Well, traditional connectivity, people like us still building cables, submarine cables, I would say. But think about the OTT players like Google, Facebook. They start invest heavily in those subsea capacity as well. So what are they doing right now? So because they actually have their own demand for the internal use between different continents to improve the user experience. So I would say the primary demand on the telecom market today primarily come from those OTT apps So things like Netflix, the video streaming, or maybe in future, who knows, the 5G killer apps. I don't know, maybe some kind of VR, or maybe some kind of imaging kind of things are happening. So I think these kind of new apps and new services are the primary drivers for bandwidth, if we want. And also, we need to think about the whole ecosystem convergence. Like fixed network is one thing, and also the mobile is also important as well. So that's why fixed mobile convergence, which is kind of like a buzzword 10 years ago, is happening now. So I think in future, apart from partnership, apart from integration with through API, I think fixed mobile convergence is another future direction we're heading off.
Thank you. Michael, where's your demand coming from?
Yeah, well, very similar to what Anthony said. Look, the economy, the traditional economy, is moving from brick and mortar to digital in every aspect. Streaming, gaming, cloud providers. Today and here, in the region we operate, we see all the segments growing, right? And I agree, with the 5G deployment, there will be a new era of applications that will require more capacity. We don't know what we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Since the cycle is evolving too fast, we don't know. I mean, nobody could predict this situation right now. And then there's been a change on the traditional ways of leisure. Let's say open TV. The traditional open TV in Brazil, they are losing subscribers month to month. And then we have Disney Plus, Apple Plus, Amazon Prime, Netflix, and then we have more than 40 game developers across the globe. And today, gaming is the biggest sport in the world, with more than 360 million players.
It's
across
amazing,
the globe.
yes.
That's amazing. And then you see the capacity in all segments, and then we have this cloudification, the journey to the cloud, for the enterprises, in our region.
But isn't this what we said already for years that would come? And of course,
Exactly.
yes, COVID is a catalyst to
Exactly.
bring everything faster. But this is what we were not only saying, this is what we're proclaiming. And
Exactly.
and from my point of view, I think we should be happy that for once we were right, that this would happen and it would come to all of us, and together with the digitalization and the digital transformation and people moving into the cloud and name it. So I think you must be a happy guy, correct?
Well, I cannot complain. I mean, I think we are in the right segment at the right moment. Everyone here. Right, we see other segments struggling, like aviation, tourism. It is a shame.
Massively, yes.
Massively, we know that, right? The services, right? And and right now at telecommunications, I see that even the governments, they are seeing that. I mean, we are not only connectivity provider. Actually, we are the base of this, new era, because, if things are, happening and if the things are, moving on, is because we are providing this. And collectively, we have this responsibility, to keep up with this,
Okay. So some people say it's a bit the chicken or the egg, but what we do see is that, especially after now the introduction of COVID, that it's moving, you know, berserk. Bandwidth is going up, IP is going up, all the segments, or almost all the segments of our telecommunication industry is going up, and we see this, of course, happening at first sight on the wholesale level, of course. Vincent, is the demand the reason why you're just putting the C cable out there and then, you know, connecting all the data centers in the world?
Well, actually, I would put my answer more in the macroeconomical domain. As was saying Michel, the world is completely changing, and that is for sure. I mean, no one will know what's going to happen in the north of North America within 30 days, and what will be the results. And part of our analysis actually is, when you are taking the numbers of global trade outside of Brazil, especially, you can see that the relationship with North America has evolved completely. It's not anymore the main partner, and you see that Europe in one side, China in the other side are becoming the main partner of Brazil, and it's not the case only for Brazil, it's the case as well for numerous of Latin America countries. So we can do a parallel in like, as was saying Michel, I mean, telecom is a base of this change of digitalization of the life of the people, and so far routes of the telecommunication system, such as submarine cables, are follow clearly the routes of the trading as well. So when today you are seeing a change of these trading routes, you are seeing a change in the subsea routes. So having now Europe and China as a major partner of Brazil, it's natural to have a subsea cable on that route. I mean, it's no mystery that China is having.
But you do the planning. You do the planning. For, I mean, with Elelink, I know you're investing a huge amount of money in this, but you're not planning from today on tomorrow. No, you plan this already years.
Yes, it's a planning on years, of course. It's of course based on the evolution of what
Correct.
we could have seen on the markets, and I mean, it's still capacity trading in the world is a very conservative market, right? I mean, if a route does not exist, most of people say there is no business because there is no history in the past. But that's why as well we are checking some other parameters, like what I was explaining on this trading exchange evolutions. So, and
okay.
What we believe as well is that at the end, once the route exists, I mean, a route like ours is cutting latency by 2 between the two continents. We're going to be able to join Sao Paulo with Madrid is in around 100 milliseconds, which makes Madrid actually closer from Sao Paulo to probably Miami. So
absolutely, yeah.
It's bringing something quite new.
Yeah, but and that's absolutely amazing. I mean, we heard already people here in the panel tipping on 5G, but Cristiano, if I may start with you, let's say other buzzwords like IoT. I mean, they should bring, let's say, a lot of possibilities and pushes the demand as well. So do you have anything to add on what could be the possibilities coming from the IoT?
Yes, so gladly. Okay, first I would like to do a little comment on what Michael and Anthony were saying before. When they talked about data centers, what is happening in the telecommunications network is very similar to that. You have a neutral structure that hosts machines, applications, and also energy and refrigeration. So this is a little bit what is happening to telecommunications networks. Companies are focusing more not on their hardware. This will be operated by third parties and more on that. As for IoT and 5G, well, I happen to participate in a study group of CGRE. CGRE is an international study body for the problems of the electrical network. And especially, we have just now founded a new group called 5G for the energy section. And I am witnessing that there is a very huge movement in the energy sector for more automation, for everything that has to do with smart grid, that is distributed generation, energy efficiency, automatic measuring infrastructure. And the difference is that contrary to sexier maybe, but not as certain to bring revenue right at the beginning, right in the beginning, we see that this industry has a lot of money and they are automating very fast. So there's no doubt that industry and especially the energy sector are first movers of the IoT movement. Another mover is precision agriculture. Large agriculture countries like Brazil and the United States are moving to that. The more we want to preserve the forests, for example, the more we need to produce with the existing land. And precision agriculture, which means that you have to go with capacity into the countryside, is also a mover is also a first mover of the IoT movement. So it's not only cities, but also the interior. Moreover, there is a movement of populations towards the countryside. COVID has shown us that we do not need to be at the central office to perform. So we may move to a better place, a safer place, a calmer place, provided that we need that we have the necessary communications infrastructure. So there are three movers that I see now as definitive for the capacity movement. So you need to bring every comfort of the city to the countryside, and you need to provide for the needs of the energy sector, oil, and the agriculture sector. So those are going to be very important movers at this beginning. And why? Because they have the money to invest in that capacity. So the byproducts will come later, in my view.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. And Michael? I mean, you're in the same country, but I mean,
I totally agree. You know, in Brazil, I've seen initiatives on the agribusiness side, and also the power companies, with smart grids. We have a huge LoRa network in place in Brazil right now to support IoT, and also the incumbents. They are also, deploying, networks to capture, this market, right? And it is a reality. And I would also add the industry 4.0. I know some, interesting cases about, IoT right now. And, and as soon as they deploy the 5G, it's going to be a different story, Yeah, I think those are the early adopters of this, new technology. All of them, they are trying to bring, efficiencies to their, business.
Okay, thank you, Michel. We were talking. I mean, the word investment came already a couple of times from me and from you guys, and sometimes people, do not really understand the amount of zeros which and the amount of digits which are actually put on the table to already start planning and then to actually until deployment. So Anthony, PCW, one of the huge investors around the globe, we know. How do you judge when the success of it? How do you judge it? How do you know?
Well, I mean, think about the traditional telco business model, right? So you have to justify an investment to the finance people. So basically, in the old days, they just talk about numbers to look at the financial return. But I think in the digital world, things change. So you cannot just, solely focus on financial returns sometimes, Obviously, financial is one thing. The other thing is non-financial. So things like, especially for new services roll out, you may not expect return immediately. So you can measure success in terms of other parameters, for things like how many people sign up in a certain digital service, for example, or maybe what's the user feedback on this kind of new things when you roll out to the market. And frankly speaking, even for the big guys like Google, not all the products will be successful, and not all the products are profitable, to be said. So ultimately, I think it's a try and error game. So like when you have a certain new service and it's proved to be at least, welcome to the market, then you have a chance to make it big. Otherwise, if it just, not perform as you expect, you just drop it, So basically, in this telecom world today, we need to measure performance in terms of both financial and non-financial perspective.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. No, and then I also can even think about the bit of social responsibility. It could also be an argument. I mean, as an example, to connect the unconnected. I'm just thinking a bit about Africa. It is not a crazy thought, and the green, let's say the climate proof, or the let's say the green ideas and planning are coming more and more to the table as well, which is also, let's say, from a social responsibility point of view, could make a difference. It will not be the key breaker, because by the end of the day it has to make money, but on the other hand it will make money. It's just the amount, how much money it will make. It will answer the motivation of doing so. And Vincent, if I may ask you, I mean, you're just spending millions of dollars every day now. So tell us, where I mean, where will it? How do you judge? Let's say, hopefully afterwards, how will you judge if the success of it?
There is a lot of ways of feeling happy by what you're doing, right? I mean, some people like to drive a Porsche, some others are not, and
or both.
Of course, there is a money and revenue, and we have shareholders, and we have to fulfill our commitments towards them, and that's a primary focus. Then for us, one major KPI is to convince customer to join us, and to see that our cable is used. That's one of our major objective. Then, I mean, we are in both worlds. In one side, we are in this transactional business to provide connectivity between Europe and Latam, but we have as well a lot of development and infrastructure projects. When you're building a subsea cable, you have a lot of branching units. Then you can position in the ocean from time to time where you believe you could be having an opportunity. So far, we are building 2 branches. One branch to connect the unconnected, clearly, in Madeira. One in Cabo Verde as well, which are quite remote and quite far from the, I would say, standard routing of subsea cable. And we have much more, actually. We are currently working in connecting Mauritania. We have a project with Morocco. We have a project with Tenerife in Canary Islands. In each of these, I mean, our objective there is, for us, is not to sell capacity, of course. I mean, this market should be controlled by our customers, and this is as well what we were talking about, in not having conflict of interest with our partners. So one of the KPI for us would be to develop these network extensions, and as well, we have on the other side of the Atlantic, we have a future connection possibility towards French Guiana, which from Europe, which is quite important. You have the spatial center of the ESA, of the Spatial Agency, European Spatial Agency, and as well we have some plans to develop in Brazil. We have a branching unit available to go south, with the objective of definitely connecting ourselves São Paulo. So this is a major our major objective, besides making money, paying what we need to pay, salaries and all, and surviving. On top of this as well, we have worked on some other projects with our customers. We've launched a scientific initiative in Madeira. So we're having there some dedicated part of the infrastructure will be used to monitor seabed activities. It's called the ELALink GeoLab. So we've been working with our partners, so EMACOM in Madeira, with Géant as well, with FCT, which is the Foundation for Science and Technology in Portugal, and with actually the government. And the objective there is to have the first ever submarine cable, which is in a commercial activity, to embed some smart cable features. So this is part as well of our social responsibility to have this kind of projects. And especially, I mean, this is definitely not a commercial project. This is something we are a side project, and we are super proud of that.
Okay, so staying with you, I mean, you know, moving a little bit on. I mean, how can we meet then the ISP's current and future capacity and connectivity demands? Quickly.
Well, first you need to fill a gap, right, in their needs. So what is for sure is that, I mean, when you have the right product, we have the sufficient flexibility to address them, and you are having the best quality. I mean, what we are saying that we have this ambition to be the expert of our little niche, our little market segment. I think this is when you can establish a right partnership, and you can keep your customer satisfied.
Okay, cool. Anthony?
Yeah, thinking about, you know, I agree with Vincent's comments. So basically, in terms of some of the projects, which not just, you know, measured purely on financial, some of the stuff, as you mentioned, maybe want to do some good thing about, I mean, just like when you say Africa, right? So there is I think some disaster happening a few years ago, and our company actually, you know, shipped some microwave equipment over there to help those community. So sometimes, I mean, things happen, and you have to, you know, contribute in a certain way from the industry. Yeah.
No, absolutely, and this is good to hear that, and I know that PCW is engaged in a lot of those projects. So fantastic. Yeah, Michael. So how do you think that that you can meet the ISP's current and future capacity and connectivity demands?
Well, I think, you know,
how do you make them happy?
I mean, first, we need to work together. You know, as I said, we need we are avoiding this, you know, transactional relationship. Okay, here is my product, and then, you know, seller and buyer. No, we are really talking to them, understanding, you know, their pains, right? I would say, you know, very few actions. First is, you know, to have, you know, capacity, installed capacity, because, you know, sometimes you don't have 90 days, right, to activate a new circuit. So capacity must be upfront, right? Second one is, you know, good connectivity, meaning that physically or virtually, you need to be, you know, well connected. You know, you have to be, you know, presence in the, you know, most important IX across the globe. You know, you have to find the best route to connect the, you know, best content providers, you know, and then you have to be creative, you know, to, you know, work with ISPs. When we talk ISPs in our region, and then Vincent, Cristiano knows, not sure if Anthony knows, only in Brazil, we have 6,000 small ISPs. 6,000, you know.
It's almost nothing. It's almost nothing.
I mean, 6,000, you know, small, mid-size, big guys, you know, and everyone, you know, has a different need. You know what I mean? So you need to be, you know, working closely, understanding their plans, and then come up with the right product, you know. You know, that way we used to do, okay, here is my product. I don't think this is gonna work anymore. We need to bring partners.
That doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
That doesn't work anymore. Thank you. So, so Cristiano, what is how can you? I mean, these ISPs they have a certain demand, and then how do you address it with Netcons Americas? How do you do it?
Well, I guess the other panelists, Anthony and Michael and Vincent, have already talked a lot about those. Well, I would like to add to Michael's comments that these
Please, yes.
6,000 ISPs are moving to become 700 over the next 2 years, and those are moving to become 300 over the next 5 years.
I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that. Thank you.
Yeah, there will be a lot of M&As.
Through
Right.
mergers and acquisitions, they are moving to that. But apart from the capacity demands in the intercontinental fiber optic cables, which is going to grow a lot, especially with more demand, more content demand that will need to come and reside in servers in the data centers here. There is a strong need of more capacity within the country itself. Not only in countries which have that many ISPs, but in every country in the region, especially if we see that there is this migration towards the countryside, which we preview to happen within 3 to 4 years. People will begin to move.
So sorry to interrupt, but do you see that capacity demand, not only in Brazil, but also, let's say, in the rest of South America, Latin America, and up north?
Yes, everywhere. In Mexico, in Argentina, in the United States themselves. So people are moving from cities, and this is a trend that is going to grow over the next 5 years. And the thing is, we do not have too much capacity, fiber optic capacity to the countryside. So I see a lot of investment there. For example, energy companies, high voltage power lines will start to invest more in fiber optic guard wires, OPGWs. And then instead of occupying one fiber with one wavelength, they are beginning to put initially 16, later 160 wavelengths, each capable of 100 or 400 gigabit per second. And this is starting to happen. I see that the new projects are already looking into that. But the problem is that power companies do not have a business unit to resell that. Moreover, they have a concession that do not let them make money from selling that. So what they are doing is outsourcing the cost of those lines and letting somebody else operate them, provided that they get the service they need for the smart grid. I see this happening right now. And this surplus capacity is going to be used to bring the sea cable capacity to the countryside. I see that happen in Brazil, in Mexico, in Argentina. Although in Argentina, the situation is not as dynamic as it used to be.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. And I'm seeing already at the time we heading to, let's say, to wrap it up slowly. So my last question for you, Anthony. What are we, and I want to thank actually Manuel Morales actually for this question actually, and I will build it into my last question, which we just saw on the chat box coming in. What are we, and I mean, the optical manufacturers, of course, not only, but not restricted only to that. But what are we doing right, and what are we doing in a good way, and what's there to expect in the next years, and what do you see in the future to come within our niche?
Well, if I interpret this question correctly, optical manufacturers, I think you're talking about subsea, cable investment companies, you know. So I would say today, I'm not say wrong or good, but technology keep advancing, right? For subsea capacity, the technology advancement means we can lower the building cost or the permit cost, if you like. So that's a good thing. And the other side of the equation will be supply. So obviously, there's too much supply in the market, it would drive down the cost significantly, and which means our revenue will drop as well.
And we don't like that, right? We don't like that.
I mean,
normally,
but I think that's the trend of the world anyway. Because if you don't build it, someone will build it anyway. So even you say, I don't justify this route, but who knows? Tomorrow there is another guy who say, hey, this route is unique to us. I want it. I will build it. So I think for subsea capacity, there's no sort of magic to say whether this is a good business model or not. But I think for individual carrier, it depends on the actual business demand to justify the investment. Obviously, cooperation is another thing. So you may, cooperate with, some of the members or maybe some OTT players as well to build some capacity over time. So hopefully the industry will grow in a healthy way by not oversupply to a certain route, if you like.
Vincent, what do you think? What the future will bring us next to your beautiful cable, of course, but what in general, what's the future bringing us? What can you expect?
I would say it's super difficult to answer this question because I mean we're in the middle of an RFQ to choose our supplier. So I would reserve my answer for our next webinar on that.
Okay, happy to do so, and you're more than welcome. You know this. Michael, how is the future looking for us? I mean, what's there to expect?
I think we're going to see more cooperation, and then we're going to see more co-builds, co-investment,
consortium-wise,
because it is impossible for one single company do everyone. OTTs will be a great partner because they will need their own infrastructure, and then they will bring partners.
They will build it anyway. They will build it
anyway. So I think the trend right now is this, consortiums, co-builds, to drive the cost down. We were talking about, suppliers, a lot of suppliers here in Brazil. I mean, on the wholesale business, you see thousands of companies, but when the 5G comes, there will be a separation between the networks because SLA is going to be critical. And nobody is going to accept anything below 99.99999. You know what I mean? Because
yes.
Artificial intelligence, machine learning, stuff like that. The networks, they will need to be up 100% of the time. So more cooperation and more networks with great reliability. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I see that in the future.
Okay, Cristiano.
Oh, there's little to add. I should say that we converge, that we can converge on what the colleagues already said. Right. So, of course, yeah, there's going to be a very steady growth and very much more sharing. What Michael was mentioning about separate networks can obtain by network slicing and software-defined networks that heed service level agreements. There will be a need for a lot of testing as well, and a lot of need for more interchange between information about different networks in different countries. Orchestration is going to be a big word. So there is a lot of things that's going to happen over the next few years.
Okay, that sounds all exciting. Anthony, famous last words from your side. What does the glass bowl from Hong Kong tells us?
Well, thanks again for allowing me to join this session. It's a very useful session, and I with sharing all this experience with the panelists here, as well as some of the questions from the audience. So I would say, today the telecom world definitely changed a lot, and you expect more changes in future. So I would say digital transformation is one way for us to cope with these challenges ahead. So I think every carrier in the world are thinking about how to automate their own processes to reduce the costs and how to introduce service in the market faster. I think these are the key elements for the future demand.
Okay, thank you so much. And gentlemen, so for you, Michel, Cristiano, Anthony, and Vincent, what we just saw on the chat, and not only the question but also the congratulations to you gentlemen for sharing your for sharing your information and your knowledge. So, and with these words, I would like to actually close our session. And ladies and gentlemen out there, thank you for your questions. Thank you for watching us. We were just discussing a very actually nice and niche topic, new business models to meet the cables and ISP future connectivity and digital demand. And we went from left to right and from north to south. So I would love to thank you, Miguel from Sao Paulo. Thank you so much. Up to Rio, Cristiano. Thank you so much. Anthony, Hong Kong. Really an honor having you as well, Vincent from Paris. And gentlemen, again, honor having you here. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with the audience. And before I say over to Laura, I want to say thank you to the audience and ciao for now, and see you next time. Stay tuned and stay with us. Carry Community will be here to share with you all the thoughts and the knowledge we have. So thank you again. Thank you, my panelists. Thank you, world out there. And Laura, back to the studio in Berlin. It's up to you.
Thank you, Eric. Dear participants, we are at the end of this panel session, and I would like to thank Eric for moderating, our panelists for sharing the valuable knowledge, and our audience for joining us and listening. We are looking forward to welcoming you in our future webinars. For more information, please visit our event portal. This panel will be soon available on CC Media portal. If you're interested in supporting and sponsoring one of our future webinars, please contact CC team. And we wish you all a good health and stay safe. Goodbye for now.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thank you out there.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.